The masked figure moved through the shadows of Hanyang's market like a ghost seeking redemption. Prince Min-jun's dark eyes burned with dangerous intensity above the black silk that concealed his royal identity. Tonight he wasn't hunting for political alliances or court intrigue. He was searching for something far more forbidden. At 26, the crown prince had grown tired of noble ladies who fainted at his presence and spoke in rehearsed pleasantries. He craved authenticity, passion, something real in a world built on lies and appearances. The mask gave him freedom, but it also made him reckless. That's when he saw her, and everything changed. So-young knelt beside her humble cart, unaware that her life was about to collide with royalty in the most scandalous way possible. At 21, she was breathtakingly beautiful despite her worn hanbok and calloused hands. Her long black hair caught the lantern light as she worked, and there was something in her movements, a grace that spoke of hidden depths. But she was everything the palace would forbid. Common-born, penniless, and completely off-limits to a prince destined to marry for political advantage. Min-jun approached her cart with predatory focus, his heart pounding with an excitement he hadn't felt in years. He didn't know yet that this seamstress would become his greatest obsession, or that their forbidden attraction would threaten to destroy the very foundations of the kingdom. "How much for this?" he asked, his deep voice making So-young look up sharply. When their eyes met, the air between them crackled with immediate, undeniable chemistry. So-young felt her breath catch as she stared into those intense dark eyes above the mysterious mask. Something dangerous and thrilling passed between them, a recognition that neither could explain. 3 yang, sir," she managed, her voice barely steady. Min-jun's lips curved into a smile beneath his mask. She had no idea she was speaking to the crown prince, no idea that her simple response had just sealed both their fates. "I'll take everything you have." "Everything?" So-young's eyes widened. "But sir, that would be 50 yang, Min-jun finished, pulling out a silk pouch heavy with coins. The amount was more money than So-young had seen in months. Her hands trembled as she reached for the payment, accidentally brushing his fingers. The contact sent electricity shooting through both of them, and Min-jun's eyes darkened with unmistakable desire. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice rougher now. "So-young," she whispered, unable to look away from his hypnotic gaze. "So-young," he repeated, making her name sound like a prayer. "I'm Jun." Neither of them moved to break the spell. The bustling market faded around them as they remained locked in their intense stare. So-young felt drawn to this mysterious stranger in a way that terrified and excited her. There was something powerful about him, something that made her feel both safe and in incredible danger. "Why do you wear the mask?" she asked boldly. Min-jun leaned closer, close enough that she could smell his expensive cologne mixed with something uniquely masculine. "Because some secrets are too dangerous to reveal," he murmured. "But perhaps, for the right person, I might be persuaded to take it off." So-young's cheeks flushed hot. No man had ever spoken to her with such bold suggestion, such raw magnetism. She should have been scandalized, should have pulled away. Instead, she found herself leaning toward him. And what kind of person would that be? She heard herself ask. Min-jun's eyes blazed with satisfaction. This beautiful seamstress wasn't intimidated by him. She was matching his intensity with her own. Someone brave enough to see the man behind the mask. Someone who wouldn't run when she learned the truth. What truth? So-young's voice was barely a whisper. Before Min-jun could answer, a commotion erupted nearby. Palace guards were moving through the market, clearly searching for someone. Min-jun cursed under his breath and stepped back, but his eyes never left So-young's face. "I have to go," he said urgently, "but I'll find you again, that's a promise." "Wait." So-young reached out, but he was already melting back into the shadows with fluid grace that spoke of training and privilege. She stood there clutching the heavy coin purse, her heart racing and her mind spinning with questions. Who was Jun? Why did he affect her so powerfully? And why did she have the feeling that their meeting would change everything? As the guards passed by her cart, one of them paused. "Did you see a masked man here? Tall, well-dressed?" So Young hesitated for just a moment, then shook her head. No, officer. No one like that. The guard moved on, and So Young realized she had just lied to protect a complete stranger. But Jun didn't feel like a stranger. He felt like destiny. 3 days later, she was working at Madam Kim's shop near the palace when she heard whispers among the other seamstresses. The crown prince has been disappearing again, one woman murmured. They say he's been seen in the common districts, wearing a mask to hide his identity. How scandalous, another replied. What could a prince want with common people? So Young's needle froze mid-stitch. A masked prince? Her mind raced back to Jun's expensive clothes, his refined speech, the way he moved with unconscious authority. The dangerous secret he mentioned, the guards searching for him. No, it couldn't be possible. But as she remembered the intensity in those dark eyes, the way he had looked at her like she was the most precious thing in the world, So Young began to suspect that her mysterious stranger was far more than he seemed. And if her suspicions were correct, then she had just fallen for the one man in all of Joseon who could never, ever be hers. The forbidden nature of their attraction only made her want him more. That night, as So Young lay on her sleeping mat, she clutched the coins Jun had given her and made a decision that would change her life forever. She would find out the truth about the masked man, no matter how dangerous that truth might be. She had no idea that across the city, Prince Min-jun was lying awake in his royal chambers, consumed by thoughts of a beautiful seamstress who had looked at him without fear, without calculation, just pure, honest attraction. For the first time in his life, the crown prince was planning to risk everything for love. The next evening, Min-jun returned to the market, his heart pounding with anticipation. He found So Young at her usual spot, but tonight she seemed different, more alert, more guarded. When she saw him approaching, her eyes held a mixture of desire and suspicion that made his pulse quicken. "You came back," she said softly. "I promised I would." Min-jun knelt beside her cart, noting how she tensed at his proximity. "You seem troubled tonight." So Young studied his masked face carefully. "I've been thinking about what you said, about dangerous secrets. And I think you're not who you pretend to be." Her voice was steady, but Min-jun could see the slight tremor in her hands. "I think you're someone very important, someone who could get in serious trouble for being here with me." Min-jun felt a thrill of excitement mixed with fear. She was intelligent, more intelligent than he'd given her credit for. "What makes you say that?" "The way you move, the way you speak, the quality of your clothes, even though you try to dress simply, and the guards who were looking for you." So Young leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Are you the crown prince?" The direct question hit Min-jun like a physical blow. For a moment he considered lying, but something in her eyes stopped him. She deserved honesty even if it destroyed whatever was growing between them. "Yes," he said simply. So Young's face went pale. She had suspected, but hearing the confirmation still shocked her. "Your Highness, don't." Min-jun's voice was sharp. "Don't change how you speak to me, don't bow, don't treat me differently, please." "But you're the crown prince," So Young whispered, looking around nervously. "If anyone sees us talking like this, let them see." Min-jun reached out and gently touched her hand. "So Young, I need you to understand something. When I'm with you, I'm not the crown prince. I'm just Jun, just a man who's completely captivated by an extraordinary woman." So Young felt tears prick her eyes. "You don't understand. I'm nobody. I'm a seamstress with no family, no dowry, no value to someone like you. This is impossible." "You're wrong." Min-jun's voice was fierce. "You have more value than every noble lady in the kingdom combined. You're talented, intelligent, beautiful, and kind. You work hard to support your sick mother. You create beauty with your own hands. You're everything I've been searching for. But the palace will never accept me. Your father will never approve. I could be executed for even talking to you like this. Then we'll be careful." Min-jun squeezed her hand. "So Young, I've spent my entire life doing what others expected of me. For once, I want to choose for myself. I want to choose you." So Young looked into his passionate eyes and felt her resolve weakening. This is madness. The best kind of madness. Min-jun smiled beneath his mask. "Will you walk with me, away from the crowds?" Against her better judgment, So Young nodded. They walked in silence through the quieter streets until they reached a small garden behind an abandoned temple. Moonlight filtered through the trees, creating patterns of light and shadow around them. "Why me?" So Young asked as they sat on a stone bench. "You could have any woman in the kingdom." "Because you see me," Min-jun replied. "Not my title, not my wealth, not what I can do for you. You see Jun, the man who wears a mask because he's tired of pretending to be perfect all the time. Is that why you wear it? To hide your imperfections?" Min-jun laughed softly. "I wear it because when people see my face, they see the crown prince. They see duty and obligation and political advantage. But with this mask, I can be myself. I can be real." So Young reached up tentatively, her fingers hovering near the edge of his mask. "May I?" Min-jun's breath caught. "So Young, I want to see the real you," she whispered. Slowly, carefully, Min-jun reached up and untied the silk cords that held his mask in place. As the black fabric fell away, So Young gasped. He was even more handsome than she had imagined. Strong jaw, full lips, aristocratic features that spoke of generations of royal breeding. But it was the vulnerability in his expression that took her breath away. Without the mask, he looked younger, more uncertain. "Now you've seen my face," he said quietly. "Are you going to run?" Instead of answering, So Young reached up and traced his jawline with gentle fingers. Min-jun closed his eyes at her touch, leaning into her caress like a man starved for affection. "You're beautiful," she whispered. "So are you." Min-jun opened his eyes and looked at her with such intensity that So Young felt her heart skip. "So Young, I need to tell you something else." "What?" "I'm falling in love with you." The words hung in the air between them, dangerous and thrilling. So Young felt tears spill down her cheeks. "Don't cry," Min-jun said, wiping her tears with his thumb. "Please don't cry." "I'm falling in love with you too," she admitted. "And it terrifies me." Min-jun cupped her face in his hands. "Then be terrified with me. Let's be reckless together." When he kissed her, it was soft and gentle at first, then deeper as So Young responded with equal passion. She had never been kissed before, but with Min-jun it felt natural, right? His hands tangled in her hair as she pressed closer to him, both of them lost in the moment. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. "We can't do this," So Young whispered, even as she made no move to pull away from his embrace. "We already are doing this," Min-jun replied, pressing his forehead against hers. "So Young, I know this is complicated. I know there will be obstacles, but I can't give you up. Not now. What about your duty? Your obligation to marry a princess? I'll find a way around it. My father wants me to be happy, and you make me happy. Happier than I've ever been." So Young wanted to believe him, but she knew the reality of their situation. "And if you can't find a way, what happens to us then?" Min-jun was quiet for a long moment. "Then we'll have whatever time we can steal together. And we'll make it count." It wasn't the promise of forever that So Young's heart craved, but it was honest. And right now, honesty was more precious than false hope. "I should go," she said reluctantly. "If I'm not home soon, the other tenants will talk. Let me walk you back." "No, it's too dangerous. If someone sees the crown prince escorting a seamstress home..." Min-jun tied his mask back in place, transforming once again into the mysterious stranger. "Then Jun will escort So Young home. Just a man walking with a woman he cares about." They walked slowly, neither wanting the evening to end. At the entrance to So Young's poor neighborhood, Min-jun stopped. "When can I see you again?" he asked. "I work at the market every 3 days, but Jun, we have to be more careful. If the wrong person sees us together..." "I know, I'll be careful, but I won't stay away." Min-jun lifted her hand and kissed her palm, making her shiver. Sweet dreams, my treasure." As So-young watched him disappear into the shadows, she touched her lips where he had kissed her. For the first time in her life, someone had called her treasure. Someone had looked at her like she was precious, valuable, worth loving. Even if their love was doomed, even if it could only exist in stolen moments and secret meetings, So-young knew she would treasure every second of it. She had spent her whole life believing she was worthless. But in Min-jun's eyes, she had seen the truth. She was worth everything to the right person, and that knowledge would change her forever. Over the following weeks, Min-jun and So-young met in secret whenever they could. Sometimes at the market, sometimes in hidden gardens, sometimes by the river under the cover of darkness. Each meeting was a risk, but neither could stay away. Min-jun brought her small gifts, expensive hair ornaments, silk fabric, books of poetry. So-young protested that she couldn't accept such valuable things, but Min-jun insisted. "Let me spoil you," he would say. "Let me show you how precious you are." In return, So-young shared her world with him. She showed him how to embroider, taught him about the struggles of common people, opened his eyes to a life he had never understood. Through her, Min-jun learned empathy and compassion in ways the palace had never taught him. Their relationship deepened beyond physical attraction. They talked for hours about everything: philosophy, dreams, fears, hopes. Min-jun discovered that So-young was well-read despite her lack of formal education, intelligent and thoughtful in ways that challenged him intellectually. But their happiness couldn't last forever. One evening, as they sat by the river sharing a simple meal So-young had prepared, Min-jun noticed she seemed distant. "What's troubling you?" he asked. So-young was quiet for a long moment. "There are rumors at the shop. They say the king is pressuring you to choose a bride soon, that he's already been meeting with noble families." Min-jun's jaw tightened. "My father has mentioned it, yes. And I've been avoiding the subject, but I can't avoid it forever." So-young felt her heart breaking. "So this really is temporary. What we have, it has an expiration date." "So-young." "No, it's all right." She forced a smile. "I knew this from the beginning. I let myself hope for more than I should have." Min-jun grabbed her hands. "Listen to me. I will find a way to be with you. I don't know how yet, but I will." "How?" "You're the crown prince. You can't just abandon your duties for a seamstress." "I can abdicate. I can give up the throne." So-young stared at him in shock. "You can't be serious." "I am completely serious. So-young, I love you more than any crown or kingdom. If I have to choose between you and the throne, I choose you." "No." So-young pulled her hands free. "I won't let you destroy your life for me. Your people need you. Your father needs you. I won't be responsible for you abandoning your responsibilities. That's my choice to make. And this is mine." So-young stood up, tears streaming down her face. "I can't see you anymore, Jun. This has to end. So-young, please. No, if you truly love me, you'll let me go. You'll marry a princess and be the king your people need, and you'll remember that a worthless seamstress loved you enough to set you free." Before Min-jun could stop her, So-young was running away into the darkness, leaving him alone by the river with his heart shattered. For days, Min-jun tried to find her, but So-young had disappeared. She had quit her job at Madam Kim's shop and stopped coming to the market. It was as if she had vanished from his life completely. Desperate and heartbroken, Min-jun threw himself into his royal duties, hoping work would distract him from the pain. But nothing helped. Every day without So-young felt like torture. Meanwhile, So-young had taken a job in a remote village outside Hanyang, working as a seamstress for a small shop. She told herself she was doing the right thing, that she was protecting Min-jun from making a terrible mistake. But every night she cried herself to sleep, missing the man who had made her feel precious. 3 months passed. Min-jun had grown thin and pale, his usual energy replaced by a hollow sadness that worried everyone in the palace. The king finally confronted his son. "What's wrong with you?" the king demanded. "You've been like a ghost for months. The court is starting to talk." "I'm fine, father." "You're not fine, you're miserable, and I think I know why." The king's expression softened. It's about a woman, isn't it? Min-jun looked up sharply. What do you know? I know my son has been sneaking out of the palace wearing a mask. I know he's been seen with a young woman in the market district, and I know that whatever happened between you has left you heartbroken. Min-jun slumped in his chair. She left me, father. She said she wouldn't let me abandon my duties for her. She sounds like a wise woman. She's the most amazing woman I've ever met, and I lost her because I'm a prince. The king was quiet for a long moment. Tell me about her. So Min-jun did. He told his father everything, how he had met So-young, how she had seen past his title to the man beneath, how she had loved him enough to sacrifice her own happiness for his duty to the kingdom. When he finished, the king was thoughtful. This woman, she refused your gifts. She tried to protect you from scandal. She put your responsibilities above her own desires. Yes, she sounds like exactly the kind of woman who should be a queen. Min-jun stared at his father in shock. What are you saying? I'm saying that perhaps it's time for the royal family to remember that true nobility comes from character, not bloodline. Bring her to me, son. Let me meet this remarkable woman who captured your heart. But father, she's a commoner. So was your great-grandmother before she married into the royal family. History has a way of repeating itself. The king smiled. Find your seamstress, Min-jun. If she's half as extraordinary as you claim, then perhaps she's exactly what this kingdom needs. Hope blazed in Min-jun's chest for the first time in months. You mean it. I mean it. But first, you have to convince her to come back. And something tells me that won't be easy. The king was right. When Min-jun finally tracked So-young down in the remote village, she refused to see him at first. It took 3 days of persistent visits before she finally agreed to talk. Why are you here? She asked, her voice carefully controlled. Because I can't live without you, Min-jun replied simply. Because my father wants to meet you. Because I think there might be a way for us to be together after all. So-young's composure cracked. Don't give me false hope, Jun, I can't bear it. It's not false hope. My father is willing to consider our marriage, if you're willing to become a princess. Me? A princess? So-young laughed bitterly. I don't know how to be a princess, I'm just a seamstress. You're the woman I love, you're kind, intelligent, talented, and strong. You're everything a princess should be. Min-jun took her hands. So-young, will you come back with me? Will you give us a chance? So-young looked into his eyes and saw the same love, the same devotion that had captured her heart months ago. Despite everything, despite the impossibility of their situation, she still loved him desperately. If I come back, if this doesn't work, it will hurt so much more than before. And if you don't come back, we'll both spend the rest of our lives wondering what might have been. Min-jun squeezed her hands. I'm willing to risk the pain if you are. So-young closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and made her choice. All right, I'll come back with you. The journey back to Hanyang was filled with nervous anticipation. So-young had never been inside the palace before, and the grandeur was overwhelming. But Min-jun stayed by her side, his presence giving her strength. When they were finally brought before the king, So-young dropped into the deepest bow of her life. Your Majesty, she said, her voice trembling. I am honored by your presence. Rise, child, the king said kindly. Let me look at you. So-young stood, keeping her eyes respectfully lowered. The king studied her for a long moment. My son tells me you're a seamstress. Yes, your Majesty. Show me your work. With shaking hands, So-young pulled out a silk pouch she had embroidered with intricate designs. The king examined it carefully, his expression unreadable. This is exceptional craftsmanship, he said finally. You learned this skill from your mother? Yes, your Majesty, before she became ill. And you've been supporting her with your needlework? I try my best, your Majesty. The king nodded approvingly. Devotion to family is an admirable quality. Tell me, child, what do you think of my son? So-young finally looked up, meeting the king's eyes. I think he's the most honorable man I've ever known, your Majesty. He's kind, intelligent, and deeply committed to his people. He will make an excellent king. Even though he was willing to give up the throne for you? Especially because of that, Your Majesty. A man who loves that deeply, who's willing to sacrifice for others, is exactly the kind of leader this kingdom needs." The king smiled. "And what about you? Are you willing to sacrifice for him?" "I already have, Your Majesty. I left him because I thought it was best for the kingdom. I would do it again if necessary. But you came back. Because he asked me to. Because he believed there might be another way." The king was quiet for a long moment. Then he turned to Min-jun. "Son, are you certain this is the woman you want to marry?" "More certain than I've ever been about anything in my life." "Then you have my blessing." The king smiled at So-young's shocked expression. "Welcome to the family, my dear. You're going to make a wonderful princess." So-young felt tears streaming down her face. "Your Majesty, I don't know what to say." "Say yes to my son's proposal. He's been carrying around an engagement ring for months, too nervous to use it." Min-jun laughed and dropped to one knee right there in the throne room, pulling out a beautiful ring set with jade and pearls. "So-young, will you marry me? Will you be my princess, my queen, my everything?" "Yes," So-young whispered, then louder, "Yes, yes, yes." As Min-jun slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her in front of the entire court, So-young realized that sometimes fairy tales do come true. The girl who had thought she was worthless had become the most precious treasure in the kingdom. Their wedding was the most magnificent celebration Hanyang had seen in decades. So-young wore a hanbok of the finest silk, embroidered with her own hands in designs that told the story of their love. Min-jun stood beside her without his mask, his face radiant with joy. As they exchanged vows, Min-jun whispered, "You are and always will be my greatest treasure." And So-young whispered back, "And you taught me that I was never worthless. I was just waiting for the right person to see my worth." They ruled together with wisdom and compassion, never forgetting their humble beginnings or the love that had brought them together. And every night, as they held each other close, they remembered that true love sees past titles and wealth to find the treasure that lies within a person's heart. The seamstress had become a queen, but more importantly, she had learned that she had always been precious. She just needed someone to help her see it.